Welcome to the deep dive. So, you gave us this incredible stack of sources, geology, language, folklore, all focused on Iceland. And our mission today is pretty simple. We're extracting the essential knowledge you need to map out West Iceland. We're skipping the dry textbook stuff and jumping right into the history, the hidden insights, all of it.
That's right. It's a complete knowledge shortcut. We're hitting two major zones. First, Mount Esja, which is basically Reykjavik's backyard, and then the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, which is it's a geologic masterpiece.
Right.
And we're really framing this whole journey around Iceland's extreme contrasts, fire versus ice, and how that landscape really shaped the culture.
And our sources are great, everything from guidebooks to deep linguistic analyses. So to make sure you can actually talk about these places, let's just start trying out the names right away.
Excellent point. Yeah, we'll be throwing some big ones at you, but by the end of this deep dive, you'll be comfortable with them.
Okay, let's get into it. Starting literally in Reykjavik's backyard with that massive landmark you see everywhere, Entesta.
It just dominates the skyline.
It really does. You see it right across Faxaflói Bay, and it stands at 914 meters. So that's nearly 3,000 feet high. The sources say hiking is like a rite of passage for locals.
A non-negotiable one,
Yes.
apparently. And what's great is how accessible it is. I mean, it's only about 10 kilometers northeast of the city.
So it's close.
Super close. If you're driving on Route 1, the trailhead is at a place called Esjurator.
Which means Esja's roots, right?
Exactly. And that drive is maybe 20, 30 minutes tops. Even Bus 57 gets you there in under an hour. It's a true urban wilderness escape.
So it's easy to get to, but the sources make a really big deal about the climb itself. They say there are two very different experiences waiting for you. The first one, the path most people take, leads to a place called Stein.
Which just means the large rock, and that's the beginner-friendly route. It's about 3 kilometers one way, a pretty comfortable hour to an hour and a half climb. For a lot of people, that's the stopping point. You can even sign a guest book there. It's rewarding without being, technically brutal.
But if you want that full, really challenging experience, you keep going past that rock, past Stein, to the true summit. Let me try this one. Þverfellshorn.
That's it! Þverfellshorn! You nailed it! And remember that special letter, say, the thorn? It's just the sound, like in thank.
Okay.
And that is the demanding path. It's steep, it's rocky, and you have to cross this ridge with a rope-assisted section to get to the very top.
So not for the faint of heart.
Not at all. You need to be seriously fit. That whole round trip is going to take you 3, maybe 4 hours.
And a huge safety note from our sources on timing here. The best time to even try this is from May to September.
Right, when it's warmer.
Yeah, maybe 10 to 15 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But even then, you need waterproof gear, warm layers. The weather can just turn on a dime.
And if you go in winter, October to April, you're talking specialized gear.
Mhm.
Crampons, ice axes. You absolutely have to check the forecast on the National Weather Service site.
And no water refills on the trail either. You have to come prepared.
Being prepared for the elements, that really defines the whole Icelandic journey. And speaking of journeys, before we head west, we have to talk about the road around Hafnarfjörður.
The Whale Fjord.
Yeah. Before 1998, anyone heading north had this mandatory 62-kilometer detour around that huge fjord.
62 kilometers just to get around a fjord. That sounds like a nightmare.
It was a serious time sink. But then came the Hafnarfjörður, the Whale Bay Tunnel, an incredible piece of engineering spanning almost 6,000 meters.
And it cuts travel time by, what, an hour?
About an hour. And get this, it actually descends 165 meters below sea level.
So the tunnel saves time, but our sources kind of hinted at a deeper question here. When you trade that scenic route for a shortcut, what happens to the land you just bypassed?
Exactly. The fjord itself, Fullfjörður, has become this quiet, peaceful place precisely because all the traffic now goes under it. The memory of the detour is gone.
But the fjord itself still has amazing things to see.
Oh yeah, it still holds history, and it's home to the Glimmer waterfall. It's the second highest in Europe at 198 meters. People now choose to take that detour, not because they have to, but to find that quiet beauty.
That's a fascinating look at the Icelandic mindset. Sometimes the best things are found where civilization deliberately steps back.
Absolutely. So if the Whale Fjord is about history preserved by silence, our next stop, the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, is where that history just exploded onto the map. Let's head fully west.
We are transitioning now to Snæfellsnes. It's often called Little Iceland, or Iceland in a nutshell.
And for good reason. It basically condenses the entire country's geography. You've got volcanoes, glaciers, black sand beaches, cliffs, sagas, all packed into a 90-kilometer stretch.
The gateway to the peninsula is a town called Borgarnes.
Right, which is tied directly to the medieval Eagles saga. From there, you just follow Route 54 or 574 into this landscape that is just, it's pure volcanic drama.
And almost immediately, you're in these cooled lava fields. Our first stop is the Eldborg crater, described as a perfect 60-meter-high scoria cone. The name means Fortress of Fire.
Okay, can we pause on that for a second? For anyone listening, what exactly is a scoria cone?
Good question. The simplest way to think of it is as the most common type of volcano. It's built from all the loose, chunky bits of cooled lava, the scoria, that got blasted out during an eruption.
So it's not made of smooth, flowing lava.
Exactly. It's literally a cone made of volcanic rubble.
Which makes that 3-kilometer hike to it feel like you're walking through deep geologic time. And then just after Eldborg, you hit the Jeriberg Cliffs, these incredible walls of symmetrical basalt columns.
They look completely unnatural. The sources kept saying they look manufactured, which is such a powerful description for something natural.
And that's the key insight. These perfect hexagonal columns, formed by lava cooling super slowly, might have subconsciously influenced early Icelandic building.
You think so?
Well, think about Norse building techniques. That geometry was just, it was there in the landscape. It seems likely it was mirrored in their designs, nature dictating culture.
Driving on, you also passed the Bjarnafoss waterfall. I love the story behind this
Wow,
one.
that sounds great.
It was named after a farmer, Bjarni, who had a string of bad luck, and instead of recovering, he just went mad and threw his life savings into the pool in the bottom of the waterfall.
And the legend says this was right after he refused to give a vagrant shelter. It's like a cautionary tale against greed with a dash of dark Icelandic humor.
A farmer losing his mind and throwing his cash in a river. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But the real heart of this entire peninsula, both geographically and spiritually, is the Snæfellsjökull glacier.
Okay, another name to nail down. Snæfellsjökull. That jökull part means glacier.
It does, and it's just this majestic sight, a glacier-capped stratovolcano, 1,446 meters high. It's been a national park since 2001. And speaking of stratovolcanoes...
I'm jumping again. What makes a stratovolcano different from that scoria cone we just talked about?
So, a stratovolcano is your classic cone-shaped volcano. Think Mount Fuji. It's built up over thousands of years by layers or strata of ash, lava, and rock. It's massive, tall, and composite, not a rubble pile.
And Snæfellsjökull hasn't erupted in a long time.
About 1,800 years, but geologically speaking, it's still considered active.
And this is where literature just completely takes over the geography. The glacier got famous worldwide not for its geology, but because of Jules Verne's 1864 novel, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
He made it the fictional entrance to the Earth's core, even though he never even visited Iceland.
Wild.
And that connection still defines the mountain today. Or sources say a lot of visitors believe it's a source of mystical energy, like a powerful chakra center for the Earth. It's so solitary you can see it from Reykjavik, over 100 kilometers away, a constant reminder of its dual identity, natural wonder and literary portal.
That's amazing. So you're looking at a real object that exists in mythology, literature, and geology all at the same time.
Let's carry that sense of story with us as we move along the coast into the land of sagas and some pretty serious physical strength tests.
Right, we're heading to the coastal area of Arnarstapi and Helnar.
Pure dramatic coastline.
It really is. Arnarstapi had these stunning basalt formations and sea arches, like one called Gatglitter.
And standing guard over it all is this massive stone statue of Barar Snæfellsnes. He's the legendary half-man, half-troll protector of the peninsula.
And according to the sagas, he just disappeared into the Snæfellsjökull glacier.
He did.
Wait a second. So the glacier is the portal for Verne's fictional explorers to go down, and it's also where a half-man, half-troll vanished into. Does that ever get confusing for people?
I think it just creates this delicious ambiguity. Icelanders seem to embrace both stories. It just adds to the mystique. Barar is the deep historical root, and Verne is the global myth that got grafted onto it.
I like that.
And the 2.5-kilometer coastal path between Arnarstapi and Helnar lets you think about those stories while you watch all the seabirds.
Okay, shifting gears to an icon of pure solitude. Buddha Kepcha, the Black Church. It has to be one of the most photographed buildings in Iceland.
It really is. Just this single black wooden church sitting in the middle of a huge ancient lava field.
And that black color, it's not just a style choice.
Not at all. It's pure survival. It's pitch, a tar-like sealant to protect the wood from the salty air and the wind. It's a practical choice that became an icon.
And you have to remember, this whole area was once a huge trading hub. Places like Buir and Helnar supported hundreds of people. The sea was their entire economy.
And that history of survival is physically set in stone, literally at our next stop, Djupalonsunder, a black pebble beach.
You can still see the rusted remains of a British trawler that wrecked there in 1948, a really somber memorial.
It is. But beyond that wreck lies the peninsula's historical proving ground.
The Drittvik lifting stones, these were not for show. They were the real deal fitness test for anyone who wanted to work on a fishing boat.
Absolutely. They separated the weak from the strong. You had 4 stones, from Amloid, the useless one, at 23 kilos, all the way up to Fulsterker, fully strong, at 154 kilos.
And to even qualify for a job, you had to lift which one?
You had to lift Halfdredinger, the half-carrier. It was 54 kilograms, and you had to lift it onto a waist-high ledge.
54 kilos. That's like a heavy punching bag. You had to lift that just to prove you could handle yourself at sea. That is a very concrete measure of the strength required to survive.
It really is. And a critical warning from our sources here. While you're on that beach, you have to watch out for the sneaker waves. The ocean there is beautiful, but incredibly dangerous.
You needed strength, for sure, but the area is also full of life. If you're looking for wildlife, there's a unique golden sand beach called Yitritunga.
Right, which is rare. Most are black sand.
And it's a haven for harbor seals and gray seals. They love to just bask on the rocks there. Just remember to keep that required 50-meter distance.
And finally, crossing over to the north coast, we find maybe the biggest icon of them all, Kirkjafell, or Church Mountain.
Widely called the most photographed mountain in Iceland.
I'd believe it. It's 463 meters tall, and it's often framed by the Kirkjufells waterfall.
And like you said, for a whole generation now, they just know it as Arrowhead Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Exactly. A massive cultural link from Viking sagas to HBO, and its shape is the result of millions of years of glacial erosion. It's what geologists call a nunatak.
A nunatak.
Yeah, it was one of the few peaks that stuck out above the massive ice sheets during the last ice age, while the glaciers carved out everything around it. It survived the ice age only to be immortalized on TV.
So we've mapped the physical journey through fire, ice, and sagas. But we have to talk about the linguistic landscape.
Yeah.
Because if you've been listening to the names Havrfellshorn, Volfjarargong, Snæfellsjökull, Icelandic is famously tricky.
It is. It's a North Germanic language brought over by Norwegian settlers between 870 and 930 AD. And what makes it so fascinating is its purity. It is the closest modern language we have to Old Norse.
How did they manage to keep it so pure when other Nordic languages changed so much?
Well, the tradition of writing the Icelandic sagas, starting way back in the 12th century, basically locked the language in place through literature. It created this immense national pride. They felt they were speaking the original Viking language.
But that resistance to change is exactly why it's so hard for a learner. The sources confirm it. 32 letters, no silent letters, and the stress is always on the first syllable.
Always. Plus, the grammar is just incredibly rich. Words change in countless ways based on gender and case. It's a lot.
Okay, so let's just consolidate those pronunciation shortcuts we touched on, because they really do unlock everything.
Let's do it. So first, ha, the thorn. That's the theth in thank. And it never ends a word.
Right.
Its cousin is a, the eth. That's the softer day in that. And it never starts a word.
Okay, that's a key distinction.
It is. Then the vowels. A is pronounced like ow, as in cow.
Ow.
And O is pronounced like oo, as in zoo. And that's the key to Jökull and Snæfellsjökull. It's more like Jökull.
That helps so much. So Reykjavik, which people always struggle with, becomes Reykjavik. That J sound becomes a Y.
Precisely. Now, despite all this incredible resilience, there's a very modern problem. The language is spoken by only about 340,000 people.
Which is tiny.
It's tiny, and that creates a real threat of what's being called digital extinction.
Because there's no commercial incentive for big tech companies to support it.
Exactly. There's a real shortage of Icelandic in digital media. You're not going to find an Icelandic Siri or Alexa. And if a language can't live naturally in the digital world, it risks getting left behind.
But the government is fighting back against them.
They are. They recognize it's a huge challenge to their national identity. So they're funding language technology to make sure Icelandic thrives in the digital world just as fiercely as it survived the Viking Age.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? You now have the essential geological and cultural map of West Iceland.
Yeah.
You know the contrast between Estja's accessible slopes and the volcanic power of Snæfellsjökull.
You've got the history from the lifting stones at Drittvik to the incredible resilience of the language itself.
You know the stories.
You've seen that Iceland is this land of extremes, where fire and ice dictate everything and where resilience isn't just a good quality to have, it's an absolute necessity. It shapes everything.
So here's a final thought to carry with you. The Snæfellsnes Peninsula is a place where fiction literally shaped reality. Long after the volcanoes cooled, Jules Verne's novel gave that landscape a second life, turning a real-world glacier into a literary portal to the center of the Earth. Knowing that story, you now carry the map to that portal with you.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.